Hi friends, welcome back to another video. Today I want to wrap up 2025 for myself. It was a big year of transition for me. I kind of settled finally in Massachusetts after, I guess, about 2 years of landing in the US. Now I can finally say I feel landed. I got into my first relationship and had my first breakup at the start of this year, which was huge. And I also started community college and quit community college. And that relationship and breakup and the community college arc kind of happened at the same time. And in reflecting on this year, I'm really, really proud of myself for saying no and rejecting both of those trajectories because on paper, both the relationship and the school situation looked like a really good fit and like a very like reasonable and logical choice. But in terms of, my energetic exchange, my sensation, the vibes, they were not a match. And I'm really, really grateful to myself for not trying to force them for any longer than I did. And I'm also proud of myself for not giving up on them any earlier than I did because I think I would have been left with questions. And usually, when I come to a space in my life of saying no or needing to articulate a rejection, I don't come to that place easily because I have to go through every scenario, through every attempt that I can at making it work, such that when I do finally reject that experience, I have no leftover questions of, oh, what if I stuck it out longer? What if I put in this kind of effort, changed my lens in this way? And so I feel like I did that for both scenarios. So after the breakup, I was also having like a little bit of discomfort, or quite significant discomfort, we could say, with my living situation. I was living with a family member, which was a huge gift because thanks to that family member, I was able to relocate to Western Massachusetts from Texas, which was the previous chapter. Not a great fit as well. And the summer, I was having kind of I was we could say I was in a bad space in terms of my mental health because also it all kind of came to a culmination on my birthday. My birthday is July 3rd, so kind of right in the middle of the year, where I accidentally like picked up a phone call that my dad's voice was on, and that sent me on like a 3-day loop of negativity. But slowly throughout the summer and then throughout the fall, I kind of pieced myself back together, reconnected with kind of a bigger picture vision of how I'm building my life. And then in the fall, I ended up finding my new living situation, which is this stunning cabin. I now live a very fairy tale picturesque life with a private forest basically, which is just a dream. And I also went to Canada for a week. I did Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal within kind of a short 7-day period. It was really great for me to get a change of atmosphere and also just be reminded that I am quite tethered in Canada. It's so funny, I really don't think much about my life in Canada. I was there for high school and then 3 years of university in Montreal. But during my 20s in Armenia, I really yeah, just totally let go of Canada because that was where all my mental health issues started in university when I started suffering from PTSD, mostly insomnia and panic attacks. So when I left Canada, I felt like, I was leaving those mental health struggles. And this was a beautiful way to return to just see how connected I am to really lovely people in Canada. A big part of those connections is thanks to my mom. I was staying with our family friends in Toronto and Montreal, kind of characters in my life that, due to their friendship with my mother, they are like aunt uncle type of figures. So that was extremely comforting. And also, I had a lot of new connections in Canada from the Armenia chapter. I'd met a bunch of Canadian Armenians in Armenia that now live in Canada. And so for the first time, I was seeing these Armenian friends in Canada. And that was also very, very fulfilling, because I miss Armenia desperately. But of course, it's really good for me to get this breather. And anyway, the whole Canada trip also just kind of changed the tone of my year. What also happened in October is that, like, I met somebody new, somebody that I'm now dating, but not in a relationship. It's a very, like, funny, absurd, and unexpected romantic dynamic that I have found myself in. Yeah, I met like an incredible woman and we're working through things, but like in the big picture, we're not a match, but it just really, really is so stunning, like the way that we're interacting in this chapter of life. So, yeah, those two factors really changed my mood for the rest of the year. And also, something interesting that I learned from my first breakup is that I'm very fussed about the question of the soul. I realized since coming to the States that it's really unreasonable to assume that other people have a grasp of soul. And I know the word has like so many weird associations with it, but my perception of soul is basically just the default interconnectedness of all beings, our connection to past and future, to everything being in the present, you know, like all of these abstract philosophical ideas. Basically, I find so much comfort in believing and feeling and experiencing life in a way that is not only the material and the visible. I've had a lot of life experiences, be it that they were super painful or super beautiful, where I've had very obvious sensations of the intangible. And I find a lot of benefit in holding on to that perspective. And it makes me feel ungrounded and insecure when I get close to somebody who doesn't have that kind of perception or that lens on life. Okay, right. So I've been in the US for 2 full years now, and in those 2 years, I have not felt grounded at all. Namely, when I was in Florida, Texas, and the first few months here in Massachusetts, I still really had this craving within me to move on to the next location, to find the next space, to really build life towards a different atmosphere. Now that I've moved into this very comfy home situation, I'm actually for the first time feeling good about staying here for at least a year. And it's been a long time. It's been since Vanadzor that I have had the sensation of wanting to stay somewhere. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I think that in being grounded in home and being grounded in location for now, I can really hold a lot more space for my personal explorations of what I want to be learning, what direction I want to move my career in, and all of those things. So, yeah, overall, very pleased with how the tides turned for me in 2025, greatly due to the fact that I held true to my emotional safety. I held true to a bigger picture vision, and I will continue to do so because the rewards for that are just really, really exponential. I was here at the cabin alone for New Year's. I had a really solid night's sleep. Like, I didn't feel the need to stay up till midnight. And then on New Year's Day, I basically stayed offline, hung out with the trees all day, watched the moon rise. And it was a really stellar, grounded, solid, nature connected way to start this year, for which I'm really grateful because a day or two after that, I flew to Texas to see my grandmother, also with my other family. We went on a cruise, which was quite an experience. I will say, without expanding too much, that was my first and last cruise ever. But anyway, a memorable experience nonetheless, and I got to step foot on Mexico for the first time, albeit only for 2 seconds, by which I mean 4 hours. But that was nice to kind of tick off a new country to get the year started. And now I'm back at home base. It's January 16th now, and I'm just getting back into the flow and rhythm of being here. year, doing some goal planning, some visioning for the year ahead, and generally enjoying my own company, which I do so thoroughly enjoy. And being here in the cabin, that sensation has only deepened, and I also feel like just by default of being in such a beautiful place, I'm reading much more than usual, I'm writing more than usual, I'm playing more music than usual, and I just love having these big windows that just by default of seeing so many trees and a beautiful view, like I do feel myself living a more grounded and healthier life. And, an environment plays so much in this, so such a large role in that, because you can only do so much of your own volition. You can do a lot, but you can only do so much. So, yeah, really, really content with the change of atmosphere and the sensation of groundedness. And yeah, I'll be making more videos. I'm really into this YouTube channel right now because it's a very low to no pressure zone for me to be in a state of exploration. I don't really share these videos with my social network. Not many people see these videos, and so I think that I can be a little bit braver with how I show up. And last year, I did a pretty good, consistent job of posting. Within the last 36 weeks, I posted 36 videos, not on a weekly basis, but within that container. So next week, I also want to focus on the weekly output of videos, but I do it in bursts. So I'm curious to see if I can do like 4 or 5 consecutive weekly videos, which is kind of unheard of for me. So that's something that's on my mind, to just even realize, to just understand if I do feel any kind of benefit from that. I love a freeform schedule. I love pivoting on the regular. And so being bound by a very rigid schedule is not of interest to me, but I do have curiosity as to what can arise within such a structure. So anyway, that's kind of always a background thought of mine for the last decade. And I'll continue experimenting with it. So yeah, I hope that your new year is starting off well. I know it's been a tumultuous start actually for a lot of people. I feel kind of lucky in that I have a lot of, factors that are keeping me grounded, but it's a wild, dark, mad world out there, and there's only so many blind eyes that you can turn inwards, right? So anyway, I hope your year is starting off well. I hope 2025 treated you well, and if not, gave you good lessons. And yeah, I hope you stick around for whatever else has to come on this channel. And I'm sending you big, big, big love.